Absolutely game the system. The bigger companies do it. Why wouldn't we try and use the same rules that they do? So yeah, you can absolutely do that because if let's just digital marketing is easy example. If you have an extra $50,000 a year in ad spend, you'll be able to write that off. But if that leads to, I don't know what the average ROI of your average digital marketer is, but let's say it's three times. Let's say that $50,000 you send returns 150,000. That's just beneficial for everybody all the way around.
So now you're net 100K up and it's something you already had. That's the beauty of it. It's not like you've got to launch something else or invest something else or finance something else or open another line of credit or any of that mess.
Welcome to Leading the Way podcast, where you'll learn neuroscience-backed ways to lead more effectively and have more fun at work with what you already have.
Hey there, it's Chris from Leading the Way. So glad you joined us today. Again, very excited to have another fabulous guest, Anthony Markey. Thank you so much for being with us, Anthony.
It's my pleasure, Chris. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too. So, Anthony, I'm going to tell people a little bit about you because you know about you and I know about you, but they don't yet. So, let's do that and then we'll jump right in the conversation. So, Anthony Markey, he's a seasoned business profit advocate. I'm excited to unpack that a little bit. With over 7 years of experience helping businesses uncover, throat's killing up here this morning, hidden revenue and reduce costs. So, he partners with B2B professionals. He has a really kind of cool formula here that's a win-win-win all the way around. And he empowers their clients to reinvest savings that they realize into growth strategies. So it's not just cost cutting here, it's finding and identifying things you can use that you already have and create growth strategies to drive success and scalability. So really excited to talk about that, Anthony. And I don't know what you're seeing in the market, but this year's been a rough year for any size business. Really high inflation. A lot of companies experience layoffs. Demands are kind of weird. It's an election year, which is always weird in the markets. We're coming up in the holidays, and folks in retail they're kind of holding on and hoping for the best here because their whole season's so seasonal. So, just curious, what trends are you seeing at a high level with folks you're working with? Are they really stressed out and freaked out? Are they seeing more opportunities? What are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, I'm seeing exactly that. I'm seeing a lot of people that, anywhere they can pinch a penny, they're going to do it. Even coming from a slightly different angle, I'm a board member on my local chamber of commerce, and sponsorships have went down a little bit this year just because more people are holding on to those dollars,
Mm,
and less people are showing up to events. So you kind of see it on both ends, where they might be a little bit more reluctant to spend money on things they otherwise would or know that they should. They just don't
right.
feel that they can, like chamber events, like sponsorships. So yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a weird year for sure.
Yeah, and it's a tricky thing too. It's so easy to Monday morning quarterback or look at other things in retrospect, but it's I think it's natural to, oh my gosh, have this scarcity mindset and hold on to what you have, but you can also miss out on like this is a really amazing opportunity to invest because when the market picks up, you're going to be ready for that ahead of others in the space. And so we talked a little bit before. It sounds like your specialty is finding things they already have, opportunities they already have, financial operations they already have. Tell me more about that. What are those hidden revenue streams or opportunities that you target?
Yeah, so a bit about me is I started off this journey as a life and health agent. I was dealing with more the B2C side. Really loved meeting new people, and it kind of transformed over the years into more B2B. And it's a trope anymore that companies like Amazon or big companies, they don't pay taxes or they don't pay what we have to pay. But that's as far as people typically look into it.
Right.
It's just like that's not for us. But there's rules and there's things out there that you could leverage and take advantage of that they do. But for the little small medium sized guy, they don't have a team of CPAs or tax attorneys going through the laws to find all these things that are able to be taken advantage of. So that's where I come in. I basically just introduce them to ideas and saying, hey, here's some things that some larger companies have taken advantage of. It's creating them either a lot of savings or helping with a lot of overpayment. So you're able to recapture those dollars and use them in a better way as opposed to sending them somewhere you don't necessarily want to send them. I think that money does better in the hands of the business owner than it does in extra taxes or extra premiums or whatever that looks like. So
Got it. So for those that are hearing this, that this sounds too good to be true, maybe, what are a couple examples of patterns you see or opportunities you see with the businesses you work with?
Yeah, so I have a couple things that I like to lead with. Some are fairly business agnostic. Others are a little bit more specific. First and foremost, one of my favorite products, it's TrueMark Health, and the reason that I like it is it could be a no net cost for the business owner, and oftentimes a net savings for the business owner and the employees, which is a nice win-win. So if the employer could put it into place, it's not interfering with what they have; it's actually enhancing it. So they get to save some money on their payroll taxes. Their employees, they can get a nice net pay raise while they're also adding extra benefits. So, your non-specific savings in that realm are you're, retaining and attracting new talent. So you don't have to hire somebody, train them, and then watch them go down the road a couple of weeks later for a nickel pay raise. You can be more competitive and keep more of those dollars, and better staff. So different areas like that are interesting. Net savings, they're very business agnostic. If you're in the United States or and you're of appropriate size, we can't help micro or solopreneurs with it, but over 10, 20 full-time W-2 employees and stuff, it's a really good fit for. And then there's other areas where, people that wouldn't otherwise think that they could qualify for things like research and development tax credits. We perform a study and see what's available to them. So, for instance, I was able to help a brewery of all things. You wouldn't think a brewery is doing R&D because you think R&D, you're thinking lab coats and beakers and
Right.
microscopes and all that. But really, it's anybody creating a new product, enhancing a
Mm,
process, new technologies, new techniques. We're able to take a look at it and say, hey, you know what? You make a new flavor of beer every year. It's hard science, right? You're using biology and chemistry, and there's a factor of risk of failure, right? Even if it does fail, that was still research and development done. So we're
mm.
able to go in and see what kind of tax credit you'll be able to get for that as well. So just going into places that they wouldn't otherwise think that they could qualify for something and saying, well, you likely do. Let's take a look and see. And any money that we can get back for them or save for them, that's money back directly to the business, and that's going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I've worked at larger companies where maybe it's the same pattern. I'm curious, based on your expertise, if it is that we'd like, is this a capitalizable asset, right? We're doing software R&D in the case where I was, right? And a lot of folks were looking at it as just sustainment. I'm like, wait a second, this is actually a net new product, and there was R&D, like you talk about. And if done wrong, there's risk of bad things happening, right? Is it the same sort of approach? Like, oh, these are approaches big businesses use, like you talked about before, and just applying them to a different scale. Is that sort of it?
Yeah, a lot of it is kind of telling people that it exists. A lot of the small medium businesses, they don't have people in their corner telling them about this kind of stuff. Your big businesses, they have teams of CPAs and forensic attorneys and tax attorneys and all that stuff that root these things out, and they find every single dime and dollar that they can save. Where your small business, 50 people, small brewery, whatever it is, they don't have time to do that. They're worried about the product. They're worried about satisfying their customers. They're worried about the upcoming event that they got to prep for.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that, what, we actually do R&D every single year. We're coming up with new flavors, even if it's not new to the market. Even if you're the 50th brewery to come up with a pina colada flavored beer, I don't know.
Right.
It's new to you, and there was that process of experimentation, that risk of failure that you put in, time and effort into, that you should absolutely look into recuperating, because why wouldn't you? That's there for a reason.
Yeah. Boy, that's great. And I'm imagining too that this could potentially apply, and we won't dive too deep into this, but to service-based businesses. I mean, they create effectively products. I know there's a different treatment, but there's certainly R&D there as well, right? It doesn't have to be just a product. It could be a service business potentially.
Yeah,
Um,
so when you're looking at like a service, something like, hey, we have a menu and we're making different kinds of foods, not so much.
okay.
It's more of it has to be hard sciences. You
Okay.
have to, your computer science, your physics, your chemistry. So if you can, if you're doing something every year or you're enhancing something, it doesn't even have to be a new product, kind of like what you mentioned with software, constantly coming out with patches, constantly updating and tweaking. All of that time spent fixing or enhancing or, making it more efficient, greener, even. I helped another company. They were making they're a cleaning company, and they're making new chemicals that were more environmentally friendly.
Mm,
That's research development. Anything that's driving to enhance the product or process, new technology, new techniques, even that's all qualifying actions.
nice.
Mhm.
Nice. So the other part I love when we were talking about before is it's not just like finding this and oh gosh, I've saved and I'm just hanging on to it. which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to advocate that that's bad, but then you've got this opportunity to invest and grow. And I know you've done that where folks have repurposed those funds that they already had to do appropriate marketing or more R&D or those sorts of things. Do you have any examples you can talk to around that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually the majority of my interactions. I'm not necessarily reaching out to these business owners directly. I'm being introduced through a third party, somebody
Mm,
that's else in the B2B space. Maybe they already have a client or a potential client that knows that they need their services, but you know what? Money's tight right now. I know we need this. Come back next year. We might be able to afford it then. Where if I can go in and that conversation's, hey, Mr. Business Owner, really happy that Tyler introduced us. We used a couple programs. We saved you about $50,000 this year. Tyler's coming in Monday to talk to you about, and then whatever the offer was that they know they need. If it's a digital marketer, maybe they're coming in to talk about ad spend. If they're,
mm,
an insurance agent, maybe they're coming in to talk about buy-sell agreements. Maybe we're talking about key persons insurance or financial literacy for all the employees that got a net pay raise. So there's things there that there's money there that can be repurposed that's currently going in, not wasteful. It's going somewhere on for a reason, but if you could recoup those dollars and you can use them to enhance your business, that's just a net win. So depending on the relationship or the person that introduced me, them having a client that now has more money that they can help them use before they, go buy a boat or something with it. Because the boat's nice, don't get me wrong, but maybe choose a trim level down just to give your business that boost. So maybe next year you can get a bigger boat.
I love that. I love that. And that's such a good thing if really it comes down to the issue really is money. And sometimes it's not when you're doing business, the person just is not ready to engage. But if really the issue is money, those service providers could reach out to you and say, hey, could you help me with this? You identify, money they didn't know they had, which they're going to be incredibly thankful for, and then be able to, apply that right away in a way that moves forward, and all three parties win. And, ideally the end customer, whatever that product or service is as well, getting it out in the market. That's really smart. Have you, and it's more of a consultative sale in a way. Is that a slower cycle for you? Are you finding it that, or is it just the normal cycle and it's just so much stronger on the other end because you've got three relationships instead of just one?
Yeah, it's none of this is like immediate. It's not like, hey, we're gonna find you this under a pillow and you're gonna pull it out and there you
Right,
go,
right.
50 grand. It's we take an evaluative look and we look and say, okay, does this product, how much is it going to be? If we look at the R&D, is there enough there to justify doing it this year? Maybe it makes sense to say, hey, you're gonna spend more time this year developing what you were working on because next year you'll qualify for something bigger. So it can be like that, but the majority of the time when I'm being introduced to a business from somebody else, you're already going in with a little bit of that know, like, trust. Hey, my trusted advisors having you come in and we take a look and say, hey, it looks like we could probably save you this much money. Do you want to do it? And then within a couple months, in the TrueMark case, they're able to start recouping those and start using that in a better way. In the R&D case, it could take a little bit longer because you get the study, you submit it to the IRS, and then you can use those dollars. So it really varies. But it's rare that a company only qualifies for one or two savings. We can oftentimes go in and save them quite a bit, whether it's through the health management program, whether it's through the R&D, or depending on different cases, maybe they're overpaying on their insurances or things like 10 to 40% on average. So we can find different savings that they could be able to recoup immediately.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And in the example of, okay, we find, let's just make it up. The business finds 50K that they could apply to, let's say, marketing, or outreach. That of course has potential tax advantages as well. Like you can stack some of these things, right? A little bit. And I'm not trying to like game the system here, but just like these are the rules, right? And it's just knowing how to play the sport a little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely game the system. The bigger companies do it. Why wouldn't we try and use the same rules that they do? So yeah, you can absolutely do that because if let's just digital marketing is easy example. If you have an extra $50,000 a year in ad spend, you'll be able to write that off. But if that leads to, I don't know what the average ROI of your average digital marketer is, but let's say it's three times. Let's say that $50,000 you send, returns 150,000. That's just beneficial for everybody all the way around.
Right. Right. So now you're net 100K up and with something you already had. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's not like you've got to launch something else or invest something else or finance something else or open another line of credit or any of that mess. It's just what do you already have? Have you encountered just the flip thing? When a business is large enough, it sounds like there's always some opportunity. Whether they choose to take action on it, it's another thing. Have you ever encountered just like there's nothing there at all? Has that even showed up for you?
The only time when I haven't actually been able to help somebody is when they're just a little too small.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little too early. And it's like, hey, you guys are definitely on the right path. So for example, with R&D, the lion's share of the tax credit is actually coming from payroll.
Okay.
So if they're a startup, what's cool about the R&D tax credit in the startup is you can actually use it as a startup to offset your payroll taxes. But let's say
Mm,
you're very small, two, three people, there's not going to be a lot there in
yeah.
the near term. But if you're growing and you're doing R&D and the following year you're at 10 people, okay, now let's take a look at it. So it's rare that we don't find anything. It would mostly be you're doing the right things. We'll approach it again next year. Keep doing this because it's going to turn into this.
Yeah. I love it. It sounds, I mean, pretty easy decision for, any small, not like brand new, small, one, two, three, but as you said, around 10 people plus, or even mid-size, right? There can be blind spots that people miss and just don't know,
Mhm.
right? That save them a lot. And just having another set of eyes or different ideas, people can get locked in our mindsets and ideas and forget, and not be aware. It sounds like a win all the way around. And then as you do this, my guess is you start unpacking more and more of these opportunities, as it grows. Like, let's try this. Oh, it worked well. Let's try the next thing. Are you seeing repeat from that, or is it just they engage once and they're happy and go away?
No, the majority of the times it's, hey, you know what? We started here. So we started with the True Mark plan. We saved you this amount of money. But when I was taking a look at everything, it looks like you actually do a little bit of R&D, or you do a little bit of this, or you might be overpaying in this area. Do you want us to take a look at that? And it's rare that you save somebody a significant amount of money and say, you know what, I found more. Do you want me to go look into it? And then
Right.
to say no. It's mostly like, yeah, I like this feeling. I would like those dollars back too, please. So it's very rare. And to your previous point, size rarely matters as far as like them having all the answers. We've been able
Yeah.
to help companies in the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, even where there's a thing or two here that's kind of fallen through the cracks, and it's like let's take a complimentary look. Let's see what's there. And if it works for a group of 20, 30, 100, it very, very largely works for the groups that are even bigger because we're just talking, more.
Right. Right. Well, that's amazing. Any advice you'd have for, companies that like, boy, I want to, but I'm kind of afraid about this. And I don't know if you encounter that, but fear is usually the number one barrier for folks taking action on anything. A- any common fears and just sort of like, okay, here's how I can calm that down and assure you this is a smart play.
Yeah, no, and you definitely run into that because it's like it sounds too good to be true. How come I haven't heard about this before? How come my CPA hasn't mentioned this? That's probably our most common objection.
Okay.
And it's just because your CPA, he's very, very good, or she's very, very good at doing the bit she's doing. It's looking beyond that and finding these things. They just don't have time to do it because they have 50, 100, 1,000 clients that are really needing them to be good in one area.
Mm,
So if we can come in and we can, do a study and take a look at everything and say, here's the hard numbers. We're not just saying, hey, we could probably do it. We're empirically showing them that they're doing X, Y, Z, and that we can help them in this way. Where we're backed by like ERISA attorneys. We have tax attorneys that are going to come on if they need that reassurance. Like, no, this is real. Here's real life case studies, and here's examples where this has been used. So we do run into it, especially on the smaller side, because you do get that if it's too good to be true, then it probably isn't kind of mentality. But we go in and, like I said, we empirically show them here's the data, here's the law, here's where we've taken advantage of it before, here's the companies that have taken advantage of it, and here's how long they've been doing it. It's not just this isn't the flash of the pan, this isn't new stuff. R&D tax credits and things have been around since the 70s.
mm,
The health management plan programs in this, they've been around since Obamacare started. So none of this is new. It's just new to you. So it's informing and introducing.
nice. Nice. So that's great. I love your approach and it's I really do believe it's a win all the way around. I mean, the only investment is engaging with you in time, which sounds like it's certainly worth it. Just following up on that, how if someone's interested, they're listening to this, they're like, what do I do? What are the next steps? How do they engage with you?
Yeah, so if they're somebody that's looking at these savings as something for their business, they can reach out to me directly. We can have a conversation, hop on a Zoom. I'd be happy to have a conversation with them. If they're maybe somebody that's in the B2B space that goes, hey, I have clients that if they had more money, I'd really be able to get down and help them. That's the majority of my relationships, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like to help businesses directly. I absolutely do. It's just a lot of times easier to go through a trusted advisor, kind of show them and get that stamp of approval before even going. Same thing. Let's happy to get on a call with them, kind of see where we might marry, where it's worked in the past, and then come up with things that might work in the future. Because there's connections that I didn't think were going to work very well in the B2B space that do. So a good example of that would be partnering with somebody that's like a B2C life insurance agent. Wouldn't think that they're going to have a lot of a sway over a business owner. But with certain products, if I could lead the employee to having a net pay raise by an extra $1,000 or $1,500 extra a year, they're able to go back in and talk to, let's say it's a group of 100. Every one of those individuals, talk to them about financial security, putting money away, saving, protecting what's important with life insurance, or using different methods that they have. So doing financial literacy to where, yeah, they don't have a B2B offer, but they can help that group of 100 people that now have more money and are wanting to use it in a wise way.
Love that. I love that. And I mean, imagine the visual I've got is like, it's a ray of hope, right? There's all these really hard things, and it's not this Pollyanna thing either. This is, like you said, it's been around since the 70s. Companies use it all the time. It's just making the choice to make that happen. So I love that. And I think it's such an important time for all size companies to figure out a way to invest. As scary as things are and as hard as they are, it's also the opportunity to invest, to enjoy the upside, as things flip over the next few years, as they do. It's just a cycle, boom and bust. Any other thoughts before we close out? Anything you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been self-employed for 7 years. I've seen a lot of the stuff that a lot of the business owners go through. I've never had to hire staff or anything like that, but I know that's a big pain point. But I'm a strong believer in the principle of reaping what you sow and living by the Zig Ziglar's philosophy. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. So collaboration and shared successes are at the heart of what I do. So I'm always willing to talk to people, whether that's, in the business sense, or whether it's on a podcast, or whether it's on my own podcast. Just connecting with people at a deeper level and actually creating real connections, not just, hey, we had a one-on-one one time and I'll never talk to you again. It's way more valuable to understand what people are doing. There's a lot of people out there doing really cool things, and I don't know what I don't know. So just meeting more people. I'd like to talk to basically everybody. So if anybody would like to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to have a call with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have those in the call notes, so you can not call notes, the show notes. So folks, you can check that out. As always, I highly encourage it. Anthony's a great person, and as you can tell, really personable and reasonable, and it's not going to try to close you or make you feel uncomfortable, but I think might really help you out. Anthony, thanks so much for being on the show, and listeners, thanks for being here. Before we close out, always like to close this with all my guests. What's one thing that you're thankful or grateful for right now, Anthony?
I have to pick one. Oh, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have a loving family. I have a group of friends, and I'm in an industry where I can meet interesting people doing interesting things, that are all like-minded. We're all leading service first. We're all wanting to help one another, and I think if we can bring more and more of that into the world, more and more people will be thankful for the same. So
that's lovely. Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's great. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Yes, I'd love if you like and subscribe for the algorithm, but more importantly, if you know someone this would serve, please share it with them. It's one of the most loving things you can do. Hey, I think this would help you out. Just share the link. And, I'm sure you know someone with a small business or medium business that is struggling, and this might be that ray of hope for them and give them some awesome opportunities. Again, Anthony, thanks so much for being on the show, and thanks for leading the way.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Chris.
You bet. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Leading the Way podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss other great episodes like this one. And if you're ready for more in your workplace, be sure to go to aintent.com. You'll find lots of free tools, assessments, and ways to engage directly with us to get your own epic results. We'll see you there.